You're all very welcome. My name is Fergus Dolan from NALA, and we're delighted to have Paul O'Connor here. Paul is going to facilitate a webinar on technology for adult literacy. Paula is with Galway and Roscommon ETB, and she's also a distance learning tutor with NALA. So I'm going to mute myself and hand you over to Paula. I'll also try and mute.
Okay, so I'll get started, Fergus. So, as Fergus said, my name is Paula O'Connor. I work as an adult literacy tutor with the Galway Roscommon ETB and also as a distance learning tutor with part-time with NALA. And today I'm going to share some technology tips for adult literacy that I've been using recently and over the last few years with my learners and in my classes. So as you saw in the outline that went out from Fergus, we're going to cover Vocabulary.com along with spelling bee, word banks, word searches, have a look at some games, look at how we might use Google Hangouts and Google Docs, especially with remote, but also in the classroom, with remote learners in the classroom. And I'd also like to share with you a tip on screen recording on the iPad with voice. So we'll go through the slides, and then if you want to keep your questions to the end, we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So we're all very familiar with various strategies to how to learn how to spell, and we're not going to go into those today, but maybe just go into look at some of the technology that's available to us for free to support those strategies. So one I've been using recently is Vocabulary.com. It works very nicely, and it's not perfect, but it works kind of that I can log in as a teacher, and then my learners log in as students. I can create classes, or I can have one person in a class, and I can build a list of words, and I can assign those words to the learners, and they in turn then can log in, and they use within Vocabulary.com, they use the app Spelling Bee to learn the spelling. So this is a short video of the tutor in Vocabulary.com. So you go in and you create a class. For privacy purposes, I've been kind of creating classes with maybe just one person in it, or maybe if I have a small class, I might create 4 or 5 people in it. Now, privacy-wise, I'm sure it's fine. Maybe just best to err on the side of caution. So I invite my student based on their email address. So here I have it set up just for this demo that paula.o'connor@gmail.com is the tutor and paula.o'connor_class is the student. So that has now sent an invitation to paula.o'connor_class. This is a list of the different words that I have, and I can assign a list then to a class. And if I assign it by spelling bee, then it will assign that to the class. And it's also set up with dates, but I don't put any emphasis on the dates when I'm using it. And some of my learners have found this very helpful, very good to help them to learn how to different spelling. So then how the learner might see it on this short clip, we see that the learner will get an email inviting them to a class. They go into the class, log in, and then they're reminded that they have some assignments pending, so they can go into those assignments. So when they go into the assignment, then this is where this yellow part here is like spelling bee, and it says the word that just said biscuit, and now you're trying to spell biscuit. You spell it, you get it correct. Next one, and it goes through. Now, if there's a word you have difficulty with, it will give you that a number of times, so that before the end of your session, you're hopefully spelling that correctly. So this word, if you heard it correctly there, is disappointment. We spell that incorrectly. Click on spell it, and nope, try again. So we correct that. So before we leave this now, it'll come up with disappointment again to ensure that the learner has the experience there to spell it or goes back over it. So just clip on another little bit here. So Vocabulary.com also, of course, offers learning in the meaning of the word, the definition of the words. So that's if the learner clicks on play there within the app, they'll be able to check their understanding of various words. So how do we get the list then to put into Vocabulary.com if I want a list specifically or to individualize it to the learner? I can create a word bank, or I can use these two websites here, the Collins English Dictionary and Enchanted Learning. Today I've taken a list out of the Enchanted Learning, so this is where we could go to pick up a word bank. Watch out for UK US spelling, and in the backup I just have a short document on the UK US spelling, but you could bring your word list into Word and correct any US spellings too. So let's look here at another short clip where the tutor creates a list in Vocabulary.com. So to create that list, I'm going to Enchanted Learning. I want to go in there and look at a word bank. I went into the word bank of positive words and picked up the A words. I copy them into Microsoft Word just from a formatting perspective. And then I start my new list in Vocabulary.com, and they go in one per line. That's my new list. I save it, and then that list will go into my list, and I can assign that to my classes. So that's Vocabulary.com, and it's free, and you can also choose to pay for it. If you pay for it, you get extra features. But you might also choose to do then with your word bank that you want your learner to learn is to create a word search. And I've been using this website here. It's very simple and straightforward. I've been using that for a few years to create word searches. So another short video clip here. So I go into this website, give the title of the puzzle, give it a title, copy in my word list, and then I'm presented with a number of settings. So how many rows and columns do you want in the word search? What kind of a font do you want, uppercase, lowercase, and very quickly you have your word search. I copy that with the snipping tool and save it into Microsoft Word as a file and share that with your learners. So again, this was the settings there for the word search app. And that's the word search as it was created. The next thing we were going to look at was games and apps. And I guess there's a lot of talk in the media about if all the brain games are good for us or bad for us, or if they really do what they claim to do, improve your cognitive ability, your concentration, enhance your motor skills, or there's a lot of other research that claims that no, they're not effective. One research team found that the high scores in the first game did not boost the participants' performance in the second game. But I do feel that, I don't know if they're for or against, but I do feel that a number of games that I think they do help, especially help with our spelling. So one such game is Word Cookies. Presents with a number of letters, and then you have to make words, spell out words using those letters. A similar game to Word Cookies is Wordscapes, quite popular at the moment. And again, you're given a number of letters here in the circle and need to find the words to fill in the crossword up above. All of these games are free. Maybe they're addictive. They do have in-app purchases, but you don't need to purchase anything, and you can get different tokens once you go up on levels. So I do think that they do help with learning how to spell words, and a number of my students use them, you know, on their apps, they use these apps on their tablets and phones, and they seem to be good. One game that I do really like is Rush Hour. The physical game there is down on the right hand side, a box game that you can buy, and it's designed to test and improve your logical thinking, spatial reasoning, and problem solving. And the equivalent then in an app is called Unblock My Car. And my students really like this game. And if I play this little video, you'll see how the game plays. Let's play the game Unblock Car. You see here there's many different levels from beginners up to expert level. You say play, you go into beginner's puzzle. Let's go to number 1. The challenge is to get the yellow car out of the car park exit, and you can see there's only one exit. The trucks are 3 spaces wide, long, so they can only go down the bottom of this car park. Trucks and cars can only move forward and backwards. So we start by moving this car over to the left, start over, move the silver out, move that back, and get that car out of the way. Now if we can get the silver car out of the way, then we've all these. And our yellow car can leave the car park now. So I think that is quite good for strategic awareness and reasoning, spatial awareness as well. So the next thing we were going to look at was Google Hangouts and Google Docs. So Google Hangouts is going to be replaced this October with a Hangouts chat and Hangouts meet. But as it stands, it's still working well, and I've used it a lot in courses I've done myself, not so much with students. And it works really well, and it's like a voice conference. It's a video conference or a voice conference. On voice calls, it can do a discussion call for up to 100 people, and on video calls it can now do up to 25 people, and you can share your screen, everything, and you can schedule calls, send invitations to people, say, for a call, and it works really well. I had wanted to put in a video here of it working, but that video didn't seem to sit as well as the other videos in the presentation, so I took it out. But Google Hangouts, if it suits, it's very good. Maybe with a teacher student with distance learning, it might be best just if the screen that was shared was the tutor's screen and not the learner's screen, again from a privacy point of view. Google Docs then, a lot of you are probably already familiar with it, but in Google Docs, when I'm in Gmail, I go down to my apps on the right hand side and I open Docs. Then I create a new document in Docs. I give it a name, and I can invite people to share this document with me. I'm not quite sure what the limit of the number of people that can share the document, but it's very good then in the way that we can all edit the document at the same time, and we can see what other people are editing. And we can also turn on track changes. So this works quite well if you're working in a classroom or with a student remotely, and they can write something in and then the tutor can correct it, but they can see the corrections as they're being made. So it's very useful, really, especially in distance tutoring. So this here on the video now, document is being shared. So you can share that with many people, and they then get an email to say you've been invited to share this document. And you can share a document with people with or without editing. So they might be allowed to edit or might not be allowed to edit. See that setting come up here in a second. See here? So this little pencil, the drop down, that's the owner can comment. They can comment on it or they can edit it. Open to the docs. So Google Docs definitely is one that's quite useful. If I move on quickly here, we can see now it's not showing me in the video, it's not picking up all of the users, but here, if you kind of hover over one of these, you can see which user is writing this comment and which user is writing this comment. So very useful. And again, totally free and saves itself in Google Docs and works very well. So we're doing quite well on time. Maybe I've gone too fast, but the other thing that I learned recently was how to screen record on an iPad and with voice as well. So the video that you saw earlier of me playing the Unblock the Car, I made that on the iPad where I did screen recording and was able to do my voiceover on it. Now, I didn't know until a few months ago that that was possible, and the settings are not defaulted to make it possible. So you need to change your settings on your iPad. You go to Control Center, Customize Controls, and you add screen recording. You need to make sure that screen recording is not restricted within the parental controls. So again, go to Screen Time, Content Restrictions, and allow for screen recording. Then, so that you can have voice, so that it will record your voice, you need to turn on the microphone. So on the left-hand side here, we can see the picture of the settings. This is what you get when you pull down on the top right-hand screen of your iPad. And the last button there, the solid white circle with circle around it, that's your recording. And if you press deeply on that, then it'll come up with an option to tap and turn on the microphone. You have to have that microphone turned on for it to record your voice. So with all those settings set, then you turn on, you press that white button there, and that turns red. You make your recording, and you tap it again to stop your recording. And that saves your screen recording with your voice in the photos on your iPad. And that's very handy, I think, especially if you wanted to explain something to somebody or show how an app can be used. It can be very quickly done, and the file size isn't big that it can be shared. And also, it could be edited quite easily as well in an app called iMovies. So that brings us to the end of this lunchtime webinar, and we've covered the content on the Vocabulary.com spelling bee, where we might go to get different word banks and how we could create a word search with those word banks. We then looked at some games and we didn't go too deep into if they're good or bad for us, but different games and apps. And then we touched on using Google Hangouts and Google Docs. And lastly, we looked at recording iPad activity with voice. So there are just a few tips of different ways that I use technology in my classes and with my learners. So thank you for listening, and now we could have some Q&A, and if you'd like to type your questions into the chat window, and we'll have a look at them. Okay?
Paula, thanks very much. That was great. Really
You're welcome, Fergus.
Straightforward, easy to follow, lots of practical ideas, practical tips, great websites, games, apps and resources. That just perfect. And yeah, timekeeping great as well. So everything well explained.
I went a bit too fast on the Vocabulary.com maybe, but anyway.
No, I think you explained it well. I think you explained everything slowly and clearly. I'd just like to thank Paula for giving a great presentation with plenty of good ideas. And as Paula said, if you have any questions, just go down to the bottom right-hand corner into the chat function and just type in your questions there. Should we give it a minute, Paula, and if there are no questions, okay, we'll wrap it up and we'll see what comes up.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just to mention, another tip that I didn't include in the slides was using Screenpresso is very good. So Screenpresso is a free product that you can install in your PC and then record screen activity. So that's how I did the screen recordings for the various videos in the presentation.
Do you see there's a question there, Paula, about Vocabulary.com? Okay. A couple of questions appearing now. So Mark, just in case anyone can't see it, Mark is asking, Vocabulary.com, is an email account necessary, or can the student follow a link?
They can follow a link, yes, because when I put in the student, so to put a student into a class, you do need an email address, but there's also a link that you could possibly send to people. But then when they click on that link, they'll be kind of prompted to register with Vocabulary.com. So they might need an email address to register with Vocabulary.com. I haven't really tried that.
Okay, and can you see the question there from Joan Butler? Is it difficult to encourage learners to go online, or do you find that learners are asking to get online?
It depends. Some learners just love technology and they love these kind of things, and then some wouldn't like them at all, and they don't want to use technology, and that's fine. So it depends on the person, really, Joan. But I suppose if I know myself, if they were up and running with technology and if they were keen on it, and so it suits some people and not others, all the technology.
Okay, thanks for that. And see, Sinead Hurley's asking, can she get a presentation? So yes, Sinead, Paul is going to send me the presentation and I'll email it out to everybody who registered for today.
Yeah, I know. I use Quizlet with my students. Yeah, I know. I've used Quizlet a bit in the past, and not so much recently. So I'm not quite sure really how it might compare. I don't know if you could put as many words into Quizlet. So see, the other thing about Vocabulary.com as well, you could get a chapter of a book and copy up to 100 pages of the book into it, and then it kind of data mines the book and takes the words out of it for the learner to learn from that chapter. So it's very good, really. There's a lot more features in it than I've shown you today, I suppose, and you can use it very effectively without paying the subscription, which is very good.
Okay, that seems to be it with the questions, Paula.
Okay.
If there aren't any more, I'll just say again, thanks a million for really informative. You can see from the comments that people really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. There's lots of ideas and plenty of resources there to look at. So thanks again for a great presentation, and we'll wrap it up then.
Maybe there's one more question there, is there?
Okay.
No? Someone say one more. Broadband for homework learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
with the new rollout, Isabel, sure, listen, in 10 or 20 years that'll all be sorted.
Yeah.
Do you see, Paula, the question?
How does the brain game specifically help with literacy? I don't know that it does specifically help with literacy, but just in the whole way that, word searches would help you to remember how to spell words, or I think the brain games help, especially the word cookies there, and the word cookies in the Wordscapes certainly help with how words might be formed, with trying to spell different words from the letters, kind of thinking about prefixes and suffixes and all that kind of thing. So I think it certainly helps with that. And the brain game, the one with the Unblock My Car, that's more around numeracy, really, and problem solving, as I see it. Yeah, it is more around I use that more in my maths class for the spatial awareness, things like that.
Great. Okay, listen, it's come to the end of the time anyway. Thanks again, Paula. Great, really informative, really helpful. Lots and lots of great tips and very well explained. So I'd just like to thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in. And I hope you got some ideas and tips. And I'll send on the presentation later this afternoon. Okay?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Fergus. Thanks, everybody.
Last one, Paula, from Emer, saying, any other good numeracy websites?
Yeah, I have lots of them. Maybe I'll put them in an email, Emer, or can't think of them off the top of my head.
The Khan Academy one is great, but it might be more for level 3 and maybe level 4. The Khan Academy, KHAN?
Yes. Yeah, we've been looking at different ones recently on level 2. So maybe if you send me your email address, Emer, I'll share with you what we've been using. My email address is paula.o'connor@gretb.ie.
So that's paula.o'connor@gretb.ie.
That's right.
So